Okay, again, after 2 months with Mr. Florent Dabadie, today we will find out in detail who Florent Dabadie is and what we can learn from his experience. Florent, welcome back. It gives me a great pleasure to that you came back and you kept your word.
Thank you very much, Albert, for not forgetting about me. And it's a pleasure to see all you again through this Zoom.
Uh, I'm honest, it was terribly to summarize the essential questions because there are so many. And I decided to also use some Marcel Proust famous questionnaire to find out some things and to give us a detailed picture and to create a relaxed atmosphere. Clearly,
Okay.
we'll not be able to know all about Mr. Florent Dabadie, especially because he released the book "How Did I Become Japanese?" in short description of your book. Can
Okay.
I read it? Okay, we are in Tokyo, mid 1990s,
Yes,
20
of
years
course.
old. With the Japanese diploma in hand, Florent Dabadie moved to Japan a few months. 30 years later, he still lives there. He was a salaryman, an office worker, and interpreter, married a Japanese woman, and became a television star. And his way on recounting his Japanese years with a keen eye for details and raw emotion is unique. And how I became Japanese is an immersion into the heart of this fascinating country. This is the description. The book is available, I saw on Amazon and so
Yeah,
many sites. Unfortunately, it is not
translated.
traduced in Romanian,
Yeah,
but I think that is a great and unique opportunity for all the person to I think to test their French um,
skills.
abilities. And okay, if you are ready, I have the questions and we can start.
Yeah, okay, let's go.
First question, because happiness is one of the things that we all wanted in our lives. So, Mr. Florent, what is your idea of perfect happiness?
I would say that a lot about it is your work, of course, because you have to find something which makes you wake up in the morning with lots of positive energy and something to fulfill. I mean, you need challenge, you need goals in your everyday life, and you know, of course, there are many things that are not easy, and you can sometimes your health is not perfect. Sometimes you have family problems. Sometimes you also struggle to find the work in your life, or there might be a bigger macro problem in your country and around the world nowadays. Not that many countries are in complete peace, so I know it's very fragile. But when you have the conditions, I think it comes down to how much energy you can put into something that you've chosen. And you know, it's I think at the end of the day, what makes you happy is the feeling of fulfillment, that your day was full and had a meaning. So for me, happiness is finding a meaning every day.
Thank you very much. And in our society, we talk a lot about models. So, for Mr. Florent Dabadie, which living person do you most admire?
It's difficult for me to say because I'm kind of eclectic. I really admire many artists. I mean, many writers. I myself beginning my career as a writer, and you talked about Marcel Proust, but even the contemporary writers, there are so many that I really like. From Marguerite Duras to the contemporary ones lately, that could be Michel Houellebecq or I admire good politicians too, because I think it's very important to have leaders. So I'm very interested. But you know, I admire everyone really. The people who can put energy in their work, whereas they are journalists. But I don't have a role model. For me, my model is the person next to me who's really invested in his job, and whether he's a school teacher, whether he's a policeman, or he's a famous writer, it doesn't make a difference. If I feel that the person is really full of energy and he wants to make a contribution to the society, he wants to make change, I admire persons who are good at what they are doing. So really, it doesn't matter who they are. They don't have to be public famous persons. If it's a cook and he's really good at making pasta every day, and he has the energy to make the pasta and pizza. I mean, in Japan, you have so many Japanese cooks. They go all the way to Italy, to Napoli, to learn about how to make the pizza. And they spend 5 years over there alone. They come back, they invest the money of their family, they open the restaurant, and they are so creative, they are so positive, and they're always smiling, and they work so hard. Those people, for me, are heroes.
That's a very expressive answer to this simple question at the first look. What is your most marked characteristic? Again, do you hear me?
I hear you, but I lost the image. Now I have you again. Yeah, it's okay.
Yeah. What is your most marked characteristic?
I would say curiosity. I think that what made me come to Japan, what made me learn foreign languages, is the curiosity towards the foreign culture, the curiosity towards the foreign languages. You know, in our world, there is no such thing as discovering a new continent, or there is no yet such thing as the space travel. But if I was in an era where we would have to discover lands, I think I would have loved to travel the world, to discover new continents and new planets in the future. I really like to travel, to meet new people, to learn new things. So my characteristic is I'm always very curious about things, and that it serves me as a journalist too. Yeah, I think when it comes to be curious, I'm not afraid. So yeah, that's my characteristic.
Okay, about this and other things. What is your greatest fear? Because
It's a good
everybody
question.
has a fear.
It's a good question. I mean, I can tell you on the contrary, the things I am not afraid of is I'm kind of an optimist person, so I'm not really afraid of the future. I'm not really afraid of death because it happens, and you know, I of course I it would be terrible to be sick. It would be terrible to experience the war or poverty or to struggle. But I'm not really someone who's very scared usually. It doesn't mean I'm courageous, but it means I'm not scared. I don't really imagine the worst. I'm always very positive person. But I would say that what scares me the most is the time where people would not need my skill anymore. Like you know, if I can't find a job, like if I write articles and I don't find persons to publish it, or if I write a book and nobody wants to read it, or if if I don't have friends. So what scares me the most is becoming someone which is uninteresting, you know, like if I don't exist. That's what scares me the most. So that's why I try to always to learn more, to meet more people, to travel more, because I know that if you don't, if you stay where you are, you know, it's difficult to survive.
Yes, it's a struggle for life. And
Yes, yeah.
what do you most value in your friends or at the
Oh, it's
person in general?
people who listen, I think is very important. Um, of course, I like people who are very good at talking, are very intelligent, and can. But I think intelligence is first to be able to listen to the other person, and I think that's what I value most in my friends, whether they are men or women. The second thing I think I really need with a friend is someone who's kind and funny, because you know when you work, you know you have to make lots of efforts, you have to struggle sometimes it's a fight, so you're not really expecting that the people you do business with are going to be kind and funny. They can be, and it's great, but you know, as you said, Albert, it's a struggle. So within the struggle, you need some peace, and I think your friends can bring you the peace through the kindness and this kind of fun, because your family and your wife or girlfriend, boyfriend, I think it's more difficult because they care so much about you that they kind of worry for you, and they also have to tell you, you know, things that are very true. Sometimes advice has to be very blunt and direct. So I think they can't be as laid back as your friend. So the friend really has to be someone who's very, very um, mild and reassuring, I guess.
I have a short story. When I was a student at communication in first year, the teacher said, "Okay, in order to be a good communicator, you need to be a good listener.
Yeah.
And also, if you go to a public and the public doesn't understand what you said, it's your fault. It's not their fault
Yeah,
because you need to adapt the message to the possibilities of the public." So I
it's
think
true.
that this, regarding, as you said, the to the importance of listening. Two short
Yeah.
questions. What is that you most dislike?
It's difficult to say because it you know there are things that are really obvious. You know, when you have people around you that are sick or that are suffering, it's very difficult because sometimes you cannot do anything to support them. So to see the people you care for struggling, you know, in professional life or in private life is always very difficult. The other thing that I would say is more into our everyday life, our work, the way we behave into the society. I think I hate people who are not polite, and that must be my Japanese uh, you know, education for the past 25 years. Is I think that, as I said, even if you're here to do a business, even if you're here to do a fight, even if you're here to have a very, very difficult time, there is a minimum of manners and politeness that you need to have, and it's the start of everything. You know, I have a very favorite philosopher from France who is called André Comte Sponville, and André Comte Sponville wrote a book who's called the Book of the 15 Little Virtues, and he makes a ranking about the virtues. You know, kindness, love, friendship, curiosity. Okay, And he says the first of all the virtues that a human being has to have is the politeness and the manner. And he says the politeness and the manner, it can be a big lie. It can be not honest, but you have to have it to start. It's the base. And if you don't have it, it's the chaos. And you know, I talked about Japan, and I talked about a fight. When you have the sumo fight, the sumo fighters, they know they're gonna fight very hard, and it's gonna be very violent. But at first, they salute each other, they pay respect to each other, and even the boxers at the end of the fight, you know, they have this kind of fraternity, and for me, that's very important.
Thank you very much. And the last short question is, which is your motto?
Yeah, you know, I changed my motto a few times in my past 20, 30 years. But I think that my motto is, it's not really a proverb, but it's a Japanese saying, which goes like, if you don't taste it, you can't hate it. So you know, it means what it means. It means that don't be afraid. Don't be afraid to be curious. Don't say no before you really talk to the person, or you really experience, or you really travel to the country. Try to be open, try to be tolerant, and then go for it. And then afterwards, if you don't like it, you can say, but not before.
Thank you very much. And going to a little bit longer questions. What are Florent Dabadie values?
You know, I think the values, there are two kinds of values. There are the values that your family, your parents give you, and there are the values that you make by yourself during your career. The values that my father gave me is really the respect of a human being and the respect of human rights. And it's kind of a humanism philosophy of maybe the French, you know, Enlightenment of the 17th, 18th century. It's the same philosophy. My mother gave me as a value to be really open to the world. So that's where I come from, my value for the travel, for the language, for the friendship. And my last value, I gained it in 25 years in Japan. It's to love your work, because at the end of the day, your life is about achieving something. And if you it's when I say the work, it can be a value of what really you dedicate of your everyday. So if you're a man or a woman at home who's raising children, it's a work also. It's a dedication. So it's very important to do the best when you do that. And yeah, that's my three values.
Thank you very much. You said that first about family, and we know that the family is the first institution of our lives. And
Yeah.
how important was education for Florent Dabadie? And also, how important do you think the education is for young people? What are the advantages from your point of view?
You know, Albert, my family was pretty unusual because my father was an artist. I mean, he was a writer, so he was always alone in his room writing all day, and he rarely came out. He didn't really have the vacation with us. He would sometimes have dinner with us, but not a lot. And even the weekends, he was working alone. My mother was a journalist, so she was very often gone foreign country to do the report. And so my two parents were not really close to us during the everyday life, because so we were more raised by kind of a nanny who was from Morocco, and she took care of us, my brother and I. But this was also important because the rare time I spent with my father and mother, like maybe the Sunday night dinner, or maybe a 1 week a year in the vacation, I was really paying attention to everything they would say, because it was so precious for me to have little time with them, that I would listen. I would, and also them, they knew that this was very important time to communicate their values. So we had few time together, but it was very rich. And probably that's why I still do not have the children right now. But if I have a kids, and I hope so, very near in the future, I would really like when I spend the time with my children, is to have quality time, and to understand that time, as you said, time with the family makes the most influence to the children life. And so what you say can't be, has to be weighted, has to be thought about, because the kids, they're gonna believe it for sure. So you have to give them the good word, the good education, the good values. You have to show them the example, because the kid, they see everything. So you cannot be courageous all the time in your life, but in front of your kids you have to. Then if you're alone and you're scared, it's okay, but in front of the kids you have to be the leader. It's a bit like the coach of the sports team, or the captain of the sports team. You have to be the leader. That's how I see the values of the parents. And then, because if we continue the sports analogy, for me, a family is a team. So the parents, they're like the coaches, and the kids, they're like the players. So the most important is the communication, and then it's to share the task. And when everybody in the team has a role, the family is doing great. And when the family is not doing great, it's like the sports team. Sometimes you lose the match, but you have to see the long term. That's how I see the family.
Very complex image. Thank you very much for your point of view. And what did you find your motivation, and also how did you overcome the hard times?
My motivation, it's really small details. It's the inspiration can be my wife, it can be my friends, it can be a book I read, a movie I saw. Really, I think motivation is very hard in life to have motivation. So you have to find it everywhere. I mean, you have to try to find it. The motivation for me is the gold. For me in life, the most important thing is to find the motivation. When you wake up in the morning, when you sleep at night, when you're in the middle of the day, when you're sad, motivation. I mean, being very happy and motivated, it's exception. I mean, usually the human being, they're very existentialist and sad beings. So it's harder to be motivated all the time. But yeah, I that's why you have to find it everywhere, and that's why it's important to be kind with yourself. It's important to eat things that you enjoy. It's important to talk with people you enjoy. It's important to surround yourself with people who put you in a good motivation. And the hard times, sometimes there's nothing you can do. As I said, sometimes it can be physical sickness. Sometimes it can be you lose a job and you don't have the work for 1 year, and you're still looking, and you're unlucky, and I guess in those times, you know, because the life is a very long road. Every moment is important. So when you're doing well, it's important to be kind to other people. It's important to maintain the relationship with the community, with the family, because you never know who is going to help you at that time. But I believe that, you know, the American way of saying, let's do it, or you can do it by yourself, or fight, or don't give up, I don't believe in that. I think you can't do it by yourself. It's impossible. Even if you're very, very, very strong, maybe you can do it for 1 week, but after 1 month, you're going to be dead tired. So you need the help of other people. And sometimes, you know, in the bad times, it's good because you see who are the really kind people, who are the people who really make effort to help you, who are the people who remember you, who are the people who are really having the good advice. So I think it helps you to move on in your life, and because I think that less is more. You know, this is the proverb that I really like about minimalism and art. It was the motto of all the American artists in the mid-20th century. But I mean, especially of the architect, German architect, Mies van Loo, who said less is more. And I believe less is more. But the problem is, to make it less is a lot of work, because you have to find the little space that you like, the little people that you like. And to make it less is the quest of your entire life.
Thank you very much. You said a lot and you made a connection with education. So, being in Japan and talking about education, how do you see education in Japan? Not only in the family, even in schools. How important is the participation of the young generation?
Yeah. Japan is a very unique country where it's an island, and the Japan and Japanese people are thinking that the foreign world on the other side of the sea, the Asian continent, the European continent, the world is a very unknown, and it can be aggressive world, and the Japanese people are quite actually afraid of the foreign world. So education of the Japanese society is based on the community. So it's based on creating 3 different circles of unity, which is the family circle, which is the everyday life company circle, and the third circle is the country circle. So Japanese people try to be cooperative and faithful to their family, to their company, and then to their country. And the world is much more further. So if you have a galaxy in Japan, the sun is the family, and then the moon is your company, and then the little planets around are the country, and the world is just a universe. It's very abstract for them. So they try to educate the children to be the perfect citizen within those 3 circles, to be polite to the parents, to respect, hardworking in the company, and to be faithful to your country values.
Thank you very much. What do you recommend to a young person who is undecided about his future? And I'm referring here to challenges, decisions. There are a lot of young people who are afraid or who are not ready to take some decisions.
Yeah, I hear you. Yes. Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Okay, sorry. What would you
Uh,
recommend to a young person who is undecided about his future and about challenges, decisions, and difficult stuff in general?
the first thing I recommend is to try to have a curiosity, and I think the most important step for developing yourself is one, to read, which is very, very important. After the reading is to travel. And I think the third step is to make new acquaintances. Doesn't mean only friends, but it's to meet new people. I think that those are the three things that are the most important for the young people. And of course, there is the how much you study and the university and the diploma and where you go to work, which is very important too. But I think that beyond the energy that you're gonna pour into your studies and your work, you always have to be looking for how to improve yourself through reading, meeting people, and traveling. So I think that even if you have, little money, it's not a question of going very far away. Traveling can be going to the countryside, can be taking a walk by yourself. It's just going out and taking a journey.
Okay, thank you very much. And short, very, very short question.
Yeah.
How did Florent Dabadie manage to fit into the Japanese societies? Because people tend to find excuses all the time, but you are not the one. So how difficult was, and which were the methods that you applied to accommodate in a new country, not
It's
unknown, but a new country?
it's a bit the same that I've been saying at the beginning of the interview. Is first 1 or 2 years was really listening, looking, listening, learning, trying to really, really concentrate myself on how the country was working, how the people were behaving, what were the codes. Of course, my biggest advantage was I could speak the language when I arrived, and I had learned in France. So I think my first 10 years in Japan, I didn't really take many risks. I was just looking around me and observing the society. And at one point, the Japanese people came to me and started to ask me some questions. And they started to ask me, okay, you've been here for 10 years. What do you think? Do you have any advice? What do you like? What don't you like? And then the next 10 years, I could do the output. But the first 10 years, it was all about the input. And I think that's a bit what summarizes Japan is the time of learning your craft or to adapt is very long. And if you're patient and curious enough to survive the time about the learning, then it's going to be very interesting to be in Japan, because the Japanese people will trust you and will have a lot of questions for you, and they will ask for your help.
Thank you very much. This is the finish point of our interview. So I have some words, and
Yeah.
we have 3 minutes remain. So je veux dire ces mots avec le cœur. C'est pourquoi j'utilise ces langues, parce qu'à mon avis, c'est une meilleure connexion.
Ouais.
Enfin, Monsieur Dabadie, je tiens à vous remercier pour tout, pour le respect,
Merci.
pour la gentillesse, pour l'ouverture. Et les entretiens avec vous me serviront dans mes futurs emplois, professeur, entraîneur et communicateur. Grâce à votre expérience, je voudrais transmettre à mes futurs disciples qu'ils peuvent accomplir bien plus que qu'ils ont prévu. En même temps, pour moi, ce rencontre signifie beaucoup pour le début de ma carrière et pour la suite. Ces derniers temps, vous et Monsieur Troussier, vous êtes de véritables sources de motivation. Je dis ça parce que c'est pourquoi je veux dédier ma réussite de ce semestre dans la faculté, complétée par des excellentes notes, le maximum, et toutes les matières. Ce ne peut être qu'une petite chose, il peut être une petite chose, mais même si le temps passe et l'intensité diminue, la gratitude de la gentillesse demeurera. Cet entretien, ainsi des autres réalisés avec des personnalités sportives et médiatiques, euh, serions à une autre façon de faire l'éducation physique. Un type d'éducation physique met l'accent sur bien plus le fait de faire rouler un ball. Je fais ici référence aux valeurs du sport, à ceux que ne voient parfois pas, le respect, l'ambition, la détermination, l'engagement, le développement. Et je vous souhaite le meilleur de chance, et le meilleur. Et merci beaucoup.
Merci
Et
Albert.
excusez-moi, mais si mon français n'est pas le meilleur.
Non, c'était superbe. Bravo. Bravo pour cet hommage. Quel beau message. Je suis très touché. Je vous remercie et vous pouvez savoir que vous pouvez me contacter quand vous voulez. Je serai toujours là.
Merci beaucoup. Euh,